One Piece, Chapter 1, 1134 officially begins with the title, The Owl Library, and this was the last chapter that Oda released in 2024. Needless to say, Oda made full use of this opportunity to drop a shocking chapter, which surprised all the fans and blew their minds away. The vast majority of the chapter focused on Nico, Robin, and Saul, continuing their meeting across Owl's library, and of course other elements of Elbaf were also focused upon. But the biggest reveal came towards the very end, when the villains of the arc were officially introduced by Oda, and it is safe to say that Elbaf is now moving to the next level in terms of intensity. It isn't a surprise to see the Elbaf arc showcasing the Owl Library in One Piece Chapter 1134. This library was teased quite a while ago, and we also heard of it in One Piece Chapter 1133. It was inevitably going to be shown in this chapter, and most fans should have expected this to happen. The Owl's library was officially revealed to all of us, and it is safe to say that it was quite a spectacle. Not every Straw Hat went to the Owl's library. Chopper was seen going with Robin, while the rest of the crew split apart doing different things. For instance, Frankie and Jinbe went to see the Atom Tree up close, because that is what intrigues them. Brook and Chopper went with Robin to the library, while Sanji stayed behind to protect Nami. Luffy was seen meeting the giant named Ripley officially in this chapter, and it is safe to say that the scenery in Elbaf is changing quite a bit with time. Regardless, the vast majority of the focus in the beginning half of the chapter was on the Owl's library, which turned out to be quite magical. Any book that one takes inside the library is gigantified immediately. As to how this happens, we do not know, but there is certainly a certain element of devil fruit ability linked to this phenomenon. Every book that existed on the island of Ohara was saved and brought back to Owl's library by Saul and the giant warrior pirates. This essentially means that the legacy of the people of Ohara is still alive, and that in the end, despite having their homes blown to bits and all the people massacred, they were still victorious. This information is now being taught to an entire country of people, and it is highly likely that it will be global eventually as well. While Robin and the other members of the Straw Hat Pirates visited the Owl's library, Luffy and Usopp, along with a few other members, continued their journey across Elbaf. We saw the crew come across kids' playgrounds, and it was quite a surprise to see the giants turning away from the ways of fighting and paying more attention to things like academics, among other things. We were also introduced to the character of Ripley, who is a giant woman that Oda introduced in One Piece Chapter 1134. We found out that over the last 100 years, Elbaf has made great strides towards being more progressive. The time of barbarians is officially over, and it was the wish of the late King Harold that Elbaf open trade with neighboring countries and become more progressive, moving away from the era of violence. This came as a surprise to Usopp and Luffy, but at the end of the day, it just goes to show that this country too has both good and bad people, just like any other place in the One Piece world, and that they aren't inherently brutes and evil people, just as many in the world of One Piece seem to believe. It is clear that Oda is leading somewhere with this plotline, and even though King Harold is dead, his legacy is still left behind, as was seen in the chapter, and his dream of wanting to see Elbaf become more progressive will eventually come true. As to how it will come true, we will have to wait. Speaking of King Harold, One Piece Chapter 1134 also focused on his son, Loki. Fans saw him in the underworld speaking to someone through a Den Mushi, and this character was revealed to be Shaggy. Who exactly Shaggy is, we do not know, but it was apparent that Shaggy was being traumatized by a certain dream of theirs. Something traumatic happened to Shaggy in the past, and Loki was certainly sympathetic towards them. He even said that if he was in Shaggy's place, he would have slaughtered them all. Shaggy then implied that Loki has got quite a kind heart, even though he has a tough exterior, which all but confirms the fact that Loki is not the villain of Elbaf arc, and that he has an intriguing role to play later down the line. Quite easily, the most exciting part of One Piece, chapter 1134, came right at the very end, when lightning struck the massive castle in Elbaph village. Inside the castle, we could observe a giant summoning circle which was surrounded by flames. At the same time, two individuals who were covered in a garb were shown emerging from the summoning circle. This was rather similar to how Saturn came out of a circle on Egghead, which essentially meant that whoever this was is related to the world government. While it wasn't exactly clear who the hooded figure was at first, in the last few panels of the chapter, Oda revealed one of them to be a lookalike of Shanks. The other character remains to be unknown and is a completely new figure. This solved one of the biggest mysteries that fans have been wondering for quite a while now. One Piece, Chapter 1134, essentially went on to confirm that Shanks has a twin, and this is the character who met the 5 elders in One Piece Chapter 907. As to why Shanks's twin is on Elbaph, we will have to wait to see. Perhaps he has a message for the giants from the world government and brings impending doom. Or he could be there to fight Straw Hat Luffy himself and eliminate Nika once and for all. Things will certainly take a more intense turn in the upcoming few chapters of One Piece, and all fans need to do is patiently wait for Oda to elaborate upon these exciting events.